REN TV coverage of the 2013 ERMI Energy Risk and Insurance Conference is sponsored by WebCE. We spoke with Ben Rodgers of Concho Resources here in Houston during the ERMI Energy Conference. Concho is an independent oil and gas company with operations primarily in southeast New Mexico and West Texas. Here are some of the highlights.
Probably regulatory issues is the biggest challenge facing energy companies. Government dynamics are always changing around us, given who's in office in our Congress and at the local, state, and federal level. And so, given that there's a changing environment around us all the time, there's going to be risks associated with that, whether it's with the EPA, different regulations that might come out of that. You've got financial reform with Dodd-Frank, and that's raising questions. And then, everything around just operations in certain areas of the country. You might have endangered species or, different constituencies that you're working with. And so, given that dynamic is always changing, there's going to be challenges facing companies on the regulatory side. We're looking 5-10 years out, and given how our companies have evolved over the past, 2 to 3 decades, there's going to be, changes on the regulatory front that could impact us, for the next 10 to 20 years. The EPA could come up and say, you can only flare this much, or there's different regulations around your electricity usage or water usage. I think there's just a lot of questions out there right now, and then behind that as well is probably tax reform, and the clarity behind the cash taxes and what can be deferred, what can't be, and what can be expensed. I think there was a lot of questions around that around the election last fall, and it's kind of quieted down a little bit. And so, but that doesn't mean it's not going to come back to the forefront. So I think between the environment and the taxes, you're going to see some headwinds in the energy industry. The most difficult risks to handle these days are the ones that you can't see and we have little to no control of. I mean, can we hire advisors or folks that have worked in the government before, or know some political landscape and help us navigate those waters? You can, but there's still a lot of unforeseen out there. I mean, we can, from a hedging perspective, you can hedge the commodities price and get around that risk, and there's other operational risks that you can by training and the proper education of employees. I think that you can help mitigate those, but it's those unforeseen risks out there that really arise. The majority of those arise from the regulatory environment, and those are really the hardest that we see in our business to mitigate. I think where the insurance industry can help us manage those risks is around education and conferences like this and other ways to really educate not only the companies but the end users and the public, so that people understand the underlying issues, and it doesn't come out of Hollywood, it doesn't come out of other areas. It comes from the people that understand the underlying risks and understand the facts. And as far as I know, I think the insurance companies have done a very good job so far, and through more conferences, other venues of newsletters and such to make sure that we're always on top of the regulatory changes and what's going on in the outside environment that impact us not only from an insurance perspective but also just from a corporate overview perspective of how you should look at navigating your business. They're doing a pretty good job so far.
For more world risk and insurance news from the ERMI Energy Risk and Insurance Conference, visit the REN TV On Demand Library.